Hi, Doctor. My name is Isa Salmanovic, and I'm trying to complete a project for my for one of my classes in my master's program. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, but please introduce yourself.
Okay, Dr. Louis Resnick. I've been here in Glendale, Queens for 40 years. Family practice, geriatrics, and some rheumatology.
Okay. I know you're very busy, doctor, so I'm going to get right to the questions. First question, what actions do you take to ensure the validity and reliability of the information you receive from patients, co-workers, subordinates, or interviewees?
That's a good question. Sometimes patients don't tell the truth, especially when it comes to drug addiction and things of this sort. They'll do anything to get, if they're drug seeking, to get the drug that they're seeking. All right, so fortunately for something like that, we have the iStop program where you can go online, prescription medication program, and find out if they're getting drugs, controlled substances from other doctors. All right, the other thing is we see some alcoholism, and people don't want to, they're in denial, they don't want to tell you. And that's a reason sometimes when, disability is another thing. People tell you that they can't work because of this, that, and there are certain tricks that we do. For example, a quick thing that I do is if a patient tells me they have terrible back pain, they can't bend down, everything hurts them, so I have them take off articles of clothing, let's say their pants or the shirt or whatever, and I hang it up, whatever, and when I examine them, oh, they have so much pain. But then when I tell them to get dressed, they don't realize I'm still observing them, and they're getting dressed, putting on their pants or socks without any problems whatsoever.
Okay, well, you actually answered the second question. I was going to ask you for an example of the situation when you received unreliable information, so that's great. So, third question, what actions would you take in the event that you have received unreliable or false information?
All right, I would have to use my judgment, and it's not my job to judge people. If they're not telling me the truth, they're hiding something or they have a reason for it, and maybe it's not terribly important to me, although in order to help the patient it would be better if I got true information. Sometimes I will challenge them if I smell alcohol on their breath, or I see that they're not behaving properly, or something that they told me wasn't consistent. I'll just tell them, look, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm a doctor. If you tell me the truth, I'm not here to judge you. I'll just try and help you. It's not going to be a problem to either one of us if you just tell me the truth.
Okay, last question, it may be repetitive, but I'll ask you. Are you able to detect when someone is not being honest with you? If so, how?
Well, one way is when a person is being dishonest, they sometimes are embarrassed, so they don't make eye contact with you. They look to the side. They can't look you in the face. And I go over here, and then they'll look the other way. And I say, look, if you're not making eye contact with me, then you're hiding something. You got some problem. And the other way is if I see they look a little bit confused as far as getting the story together. All right, it takes them a long time to tell what it is, and it doesn't seem to make sense. All right, that's another way that I know.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, doctor.
All right.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.
And cut. For my second interview with a professional, and I'm here with. Please introduce yourself.
Ronnie Villa, CPA.
Okay. And where do you work, Mr. Villa?
I work at Deloitte.
Okay. So I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
What actions do you take to ensure the validity and reliability of the information you receive from clients, co-workers, subordinates, or interviewees?
Anything from Outlook protections, zip files, password protections. We use internal technology websites in order to keep information secure between our clients and our firm, and internal and externally. So I think it's very important.
But what about to make sure that the information is reliable?
Oh, like you mean as in the
Yeah.
information is correct?
Yes, well,
Oh.
correct or that they're not lying to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, you know, we want to check all the information that we receive, where it's coming from, how our calculations are coming into play with the, for example, financials that come in. I don't know if you're asking a specific in tax or just in general.
In general.
Yeah, you know, we want to check that, you know, things add up to what it says they are. Any other disclosure information that, you know, it's accurate, and you want to ask for support and backup when possible. Or I like to ask as much detail as I can just to document and you know, keep for my records and all the files we receive.
Okay, and can you give us an example of when you receive unreliable or false information from a client, coworker, subordinate, interviewee?
I don't have an example of like a false information. I mean, I found mistakes in files I received where I checked with the client to confirm certain mistakes, and they agreed with my corrections 9 out of 10 times because, you know, they're easier to follow. But
Okay.
nothing major in terms of, you know, horrible lies or anything. Yeah.
And what actions would you take in the event that you have received unreliable or false information?
First, I would probably go up the ladder internally with my firm, and manager, senior manager, to discuss my findings and to see if they agree. Because, you know, sometimes I could find something that there could be a reason behind it. So you definitely don't want to go straight to a client or whoever you're working for and say, hey, you know, I found this. But you definitely want to talk internally and see what the best measures and actions are.
Okay. And are you able to detect when someone is not being honest with you? And if so, how?
Do you mean, is that, again, general, like in person or through email, or does it matter?
In person or as far as
I mean, personally, I mean, it's depending on the person, it's easy to sense if someone's not comfortable answering questions. That way, you know, if I ever find myself in that situation, I always ask, hey, you know, do you have any questions? Or are you sure about this? Or, you know, show me how you got to this. I'd rather have the person get comfortable with what they're telling me, and maybe they'll be comfortable with me to be honest with me if they find any issues or any discrepancies with anything.
Okay. And one final question. Are you able to detect when an entity's financial information is unreliable or false? And if so, how?
Well, I'm not an auditor, but I've seen mistakes coming from auditors. Nothing too in-depth or nothing to analyze in very much detail, but I've found mistakes where, you know, I call the auditors and discuss with them, and they have to revise things. But again, it's internal, nothing external. So if I was an auditor, I'm sure I'll be able to get into more detail, but unfortunately I'm a tax guy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
You're
Have a good
welcome.
night.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tina. I'm from Team 2, and could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Chiwei Chong. I'm a building manager for Fontis America.
The first question I have is, what action do you take to ensure the validity and reliability of the information you receive from clients, co-workers, subordinates, or interviewees?
Well, as for me, mostly clients, I don't deal with clients, I deal with co-workers and subordinates. And each co-worker and subordinate, they have a reputation. You know, I knew, like, from working with them, who's reliable, who's not. And I usually double check everybody. But for people who are not that reliable, I usually give a more detailed double checking just to make sure the information I've been given is reliable.
Okay, so could you give us an example of a situation that you were in where you received unreliable or false information from you don't deal with client, co-worker or subordinate?
Yeah, not too long ago, I was having a temp working with me, and he canned in the work and he says it's done, but I was never really too comfortable with his work, so I just double checked just to make sure, and I realized after careful analysis some of the numbers were made up. So
Wow.
so I have to confront him about it, and when I confront him about it, he tells me, the numbers were right when he handed to me, and blame me that I manipulated numbers.
Okay.
But but I kept calm and just ended the conversation before it gets any worse.
Alright, so what action would you take in the events that you have received unreliable or false information?
Well, as for that case, I have to speak to my supervisor because he's blaming me, saying I did the mistake. So that was it. And afterwards, my supervisor spoke to the temp and he was reassigned to work with someone else.
Okay, so are you able to detect when someone is not being honest with you?
Well, if somebody's not honest with you, the stories he tells or she tells just doesn't make any sense if you just think about it. And another thing, when someone's telling you a lie, they usually don't look at you in the eye, and they usually fidget a lot and look really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so are you able to detect when an entity financial information is unreliable or false?
Well, as for me, I have a good idea what the financial information will look like because I'm the building manager. If some information looks out of place, I usually do like analysis. For example, let's say this program, they don't have cars, but if I notice like this car insurance, I know it couldn't be correct because it's still
that's
cars.
true.
Or like, rents, for example, I know how much a monthly rent is. And if I see like a big number, more than 12 months rent, I would do some investigating.
Okay, alright, thank you.
Okay.
I'm from Team 2. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Clay Huang. I currently work in Weiwei Code Company, CPA firm. I have 2-year experience in commercial auditing and a few experience in non-for-profit as well.
Okay. Alright, the first question I have is what action do you take to ensure the validity and reliability of the information you receive from clients, co-workers, subordinates, or interviewees?
Basically, in audit, we perform substantive tests to ensure all material information is valid and reliable. When the documentation agree with the claim, then the information is reliable. So we also take other measures to ensure clients is reputable. We perform like a search online to make sure that the client or the review of the client is to have a positive feedback for the client, and also to make sure that the management's integrity is intact.
Okay. Can you give us an example of a situation that you were in where you received unreliable or false information from your clients?
Okay. I have never been involved in fraudulent activities with my client, but that would be my consider of fraudulent financial reporting that is very serious problems. However, there were some occasions where clients provided insufficient documentations. And to back out the financial statement claims, we cannot express an opinion whether or not those claims are reliable.
Yeah. What action would you take in the events that you have received unreliable or false information?
If we were to receive unreliable information, we have to document everything in detail, such as the interview we conduct with clients. And also we need to document the false information and the paper trail leading to the discovery. We have to set up meeting with our manager and the partner and to discuss the implication of the unreliable information.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to detect when someone is not being honest with you?
Basically, when we perform the audit, we have to be skeptical for everything the client just told us.
Mhm.
We cannot take whatever clients tell us to believe whatever they say. So we have to do diligence to
Mhm.
the principle we have to follow.
Mhm.
So, but I don't have some kind of experience in to receive a fraudulent activity that was our way of during my engagement.
Mhm. Okay, so are you able to detect when an entity's financial information is unreliable or false?
I have never been able to detect whether or not the financial is false.
Mhm.
But there were the occasions that when client did not provide sufficient all the evidence to
Mhm.
express their opinion on the financial statements. Therefore, we had a disclaimer for the opinions to
Mhm.
issue on the financial statements.
Mhm. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Nice to meeting you.
Thank you, Dina.